Captain's Log, Episode 100. This episode of the Beer Avengers podcast is sponsored by the Beer and Cheese Collective, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Enjoy their eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at the Beer and Cheese Collective, home bar to yours truly, Captain Porter Brown Stout. On this installment, Captain Huck and Beer Wonder welcome back guest Beer Venger Globehopper for our very special 7-Pour 100th episode. Globehopper's been on 6 episodes, has listened to every episode at least once, and for his 7th episode, we had him stand in for all of you out there to ask us the questions that, as a fan, he thought you might like to know the answers to. After this episode, we're taking a hiatus from the podcast for a bit, so we were feeling especially reflective. But in other ways, we're not going anywhere. If you want to keep up with our beer ventures, you can keep tabs on us at all the usual social media sites. Well, the ones that aren't openly fascist adjacent, anyway. Thanks to all of you who have been listening and continue listening. It's been an awesome ride so far. Remember to like, star, and subscribe whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeervengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 100. Come back anytime.
We're the beer Vengers, beer Vengers, beer Vengers. We're the Beer Vengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brown Stout.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in northern Fresno, California, this is the Pale Male Hophead Huck.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the County of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder!
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the borough of Brooklyn, I'm the Globehopper.
And we are the Beer Vengers.
That was a pretty good one.
After 100 shots at this, you'd think we'd have figured it out.
That's right. This is 100 episodes that we're doing right now. You might see more than that many downloads, but we did have a couple of rebroadcasts late last year. So yes, this is our 100th original episode. And welcome the Globehopper back, who is joining us in a very special capacity that will be revealed later.
Well, thank you. Always a pleasure to return whenever I feel I should. Or you invite me. I don't know.
Yes. You
get invited. You don't pull any of this nut pool action.
No,
you don't just show up.
No, you don't do that, and you don't like bitch about. Honestly, I really don't think we should let Nutpool dominate this episode because if we start say what you will, and then say way too much. Yeah.
We do say a lot. Well, Globehopper, it's great to have you back as always. Always good to have a beer with you.
And it's good to have everyone out there, whether this is your 100th episode or your first episode. If it is, some of it might be confusing, but I think you'll find a lot to hang your hat on there, and maybe you want to go listen to the other 99 that are there in our catalog at any time, no paywall, all there for you to enjoy.
Absolutely. It's been now and forever. Like cats.
Yeah. That was very specific there.
I don't think they're around anymore.
Did they close?
I think they said now and forever. I guess I guess it's like never forget. So Cats is like the 9/11 of Broadway. Yeah.
Oh my God, y'all! I think we need to get to the pores. I know that we are a political podcast. We're not political podcast, but we definitely have our leanings.
Yes. And that was no statement. That was just a language thing.
Exactly.
And so I think you're right. And since he is our guest, Globehopper, why don't you go first? Did I do that right, Beer Wonder?
You.
What, 100 episodes and you got it? Oh my gosh, I'm so proud. Please, Globehopper, grace us with your glory. It's only polite.
It is
grace
only
us
polite.
With your glory.
I don't know if I can live up to that. But I do have a lovely Italian Pilsner from our friends over at Schinker Brewing.
Ooh.
I feel like there's so much happening in New York with
Oh gosh, yes.
so much, which we'll get into. But pay some homage to the old and the new. So of the Italian Pilsner, the Chassidise, I think. I don't know if anyone. I don't speak Italian, but nice Italian style Pilsner. So let's crack it.
Oh yes! Wow.
Lovely. All right. Let's see if we can.
She's jumping right now. Oh, that is gorgeous. Very straw colored. Really got that. It looks pretty clear too. Good head.
It is. It's gonna be clear.
Okay.
A little bit of haze in there actually, but get that.
Oh yeah,
right up there.
Nice. And a lovely can as well. You know. Got that old school feel to it, which is nice.
Schenker.
Yeah, really nice. Simple can, but you got a little Italian villa on there. Oh, I'm excited. That's nice.
I saw a Schenker can at Spokeasy this week.
Ooh.
Oh wow!
Now that I think about it, yeah.
There was a beer I had. It was either the last one or the before, one of the last 2 or 3 episodes. That was a collab with Schenker, but I can't remember the name of it, and I'm too thirsty to look it up right now. But I'll check that out as we go along. And during one of you guys doing your tasting notes, I'll look that up. Anyway, who's next?
Oh, boy. See, I didn't plan after 100 episodes. I haven't planned this far in advance.
Right, I'm going to go then. I'm going to go. I'm going to let's forget. All right. And I have a wonderful
sponsored pour.
That's right. This is a sponsored pour from the provider. I told her we were having our 100th episode, and she gave me this as well as another beer. And this is from Central Waters, but it's a collaboration with Serene. I mentioned Central Waters first because the logo looks more Central Watersy, so I think it's probably Serene came into them. But the name of the beer is Two Schulmans Walk into a Brewery.
Oh my goodness. Valid.
And this is going to surprise you a lot. It's an imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels.
Oh my gosh.
And it's a 10%er.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea that we would have anything like this ever on this beer cast.
Let's take a look.
Oh my. Okay. Well,
a little bit of a spill there. Yeah.
A little bit of a spill, but that means we're doing it right. Okay. Thinner pour than I would have expected, but dark as blazes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Nice head on that too. Good. Good. It's going to have nice lacing as it goes down that.
I think so.
That glass.
Let me just move that. Get this around here a little bit better so we can see it. Yes, Two Schulmans walk into a brewery. Yes. And maybe I'll do some research and figure out where that name comes from. All right.
Well, I want to know about the geese or the storks on that can. I'm curious about them too.
Well, that is, if you look on the logo for Central Waters, that is part of their regular logo.
Got it. Okay.
But this one has 2 of them. So.
Two Schulmans.
Yeah.
So yes. All right.
I didn't know.
All right. Who's next?
Schulmans. Well, I'll go.
Fantastic.
All right.
Tell you what. I looked over the spreadsheet. Over the years, there's 2 breweries that I had the most of. One of them is Evil Twin NYC, and the other one is one of my favorite breweries right out of Brooklyn, right?
Oh, Grimm.
Grimm Brewing.
We do love Grimm.
Been hanging on to this since before Christmas. It's called 4X's. It's called a mild barley wine style ale.
Just mild?
But I think they're saying like dark mild, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. I see. Okay.
It's not mild in alcohol. It's 11% from Grimm. And
that's mild for the captain. Let's be honest.
I've been keeping this in the Huckster cellar.
Nice.
Let's take a look at this thing. Now, last time I did buy 2 of these, and over Christmas I poured one, but it was kind of chunky, like had bits.
Ooh.
So let's see what this looks like.
All right. Definitely kind of a darker, like very dark amber situation going on.
Almost a sort of barley wine-ish there.
Mm-hmm. It is a barley wine.
I suspect plum.
I was cleaning up my spill when you announced that.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Are there chunks in there?
I don't see chunks right now, but they may come into play as we go.
All right, very nice.
4X's. This also just won an award at the New York State Brewers Festival. I think it won gold for strong ale.
Good stuff.
All right, I think
information.
I think
Beer
I think it's
Wonder.
I think it's me. And you know
Yeah.
what? Here's the thing. I am so proud because today I am repping a
Sponsored pour.
That's right.
I know.
Another sponsored pour from the Beer and Cheese Collective at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard.
I know this is a special one. This is from our friends at Brown Girls Brew. It is one of their craft beers. It is an amber style ale that is called Carrot Cake. It's a
Ooh.
carrot cake style ale.
Very nice.
Check that can. Check that can.
Wow.
I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. This is a sponsored pour. I have also actually enjoyed this beer in the past because it is one of the beers that you can get at a place where I used to spend a lot of time, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's one of the ones that they currently stock in their selection of craft beers, which is points in the Mets' honor for getting better beers than they had in the past, because it was real struggle bus there with some baby InBev big time situations.
Yeah.
You don't really want to look at art and drink a Bud Light. So, way to go. So here we go.
Oh, you can see the carrot right away.
Oh, yeah. Big carrot cake vibes.
Oh, now it's getting a little more of an IPA amber look to it.
Yeah, definitely. They call
Almost
it
has
an amber ale, but it
Okay.
definitely, and you can, I don't really smell carrot quite yet. I think that's more of a taste situation, but definitely has that like amber feel, already smelling nut at this angle. It's going to be a good one.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we all have our pours. Cheers, Vengers.
Cheers, Vengers.
Here's to 100.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Well, I have to have a confession about this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting into, right?
Yeah.
There's definitely it does taste like it's got that great amber character. They're brew out of Jersey. It's a Black woman-owned company. We love all of that, but there's a flavor profile in here that's really distinct. There's definitely like some vanilla in there. There's definitely some kind of elements that are going to give you like cinnamon, and some might even say that, or might have a question about a flavor profile that could be in here, because some might ask whether
There's nutmeg in here.
and they would be correct, because there is a
Excellent.
distinct flavor of nutmeg in this beer.
Mm.
So
I think there's nutmeg in this.
Yes,
So
we
we-
have established that. Thank you. both.
yes, it's very important, but I did feel that it was important that people be aware of that, because that is not a flavor profile that the Wonder usually shows up with. And
No.
and so it's a good one, but it is a delightful beer. It goes down very nicely. It isn't overpowering in its spice, so it's still very quaffable, as one might say. But still just a really refreshing beer with a good touch of like spice, cinnamon, nut, and carrot cake spices. Really delicious, refreshing beer.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know the part about the Met. I actually just discovered this brewery very recently. They did they did a whole tasting thing at Beer and Cheese Collective,
Mhm.
and almost all their beers are named after desserts, but the beers themselves aren't especially desserty.
No, it's not an intensely over. I wouldn't, if they
Yeah.
didn't prime me with carrot cake, I would not have initially thought carrot cake, but I do get the distinct flavors of it in there when I'm sort of being conscious of it. But otherwise, it's a good drinking beer. Like
Yeah.
it just is. It's a nice beer, and the fact that they're able to make a nice beer with this sort of gentle hint and make it be like, oh, there's something in there that's kind of fun. I always like that. That is the
Yeah.
artistry of making a good beer.
Does it have the flavors of the cream cheese frosting as well, or just the
Is-
cake?
No, I mean, look, it's you can't have your cake and eat it too. Always, Glow
And drink
Popper,
it too.
and drink it too.
Ah.
Yeah.
I-
Even,
So,
even
know.
though that does seem to be the indication with a lot of the pastry stouts,
Right.
is they want you to be able to have your cake and drink it too, and sometimes they go too far with that.
But if there was a sense of lactose in there, I feel like we could make that happen.
Yeah.
So,
I actually had a carrot cake from our friends at 6 Point, carrot cake ale, and they had the lactose where you tasted every element, even the sour cream or the cream cheese. It was weird.
that is a little weird.
It was a little weird.
So I said the name of the beer wrong.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
It's 5 X's.
Oh my gosh.
I missed that middle X there.
You can't
Yeah.
you can't skip an X, okay? You can't skip
5
an X.
X's. Very I get a very cinnamony vibe, and it's extremely cloudy. Like, really, just it's hard to see it. I can't. Well, there you go. I mean, it's a very cloudy. It's plummy. It's kind of plummy.
Yeah.
And a smooth flavor. We got like little toffee and chocolate, and just very desserty, very Christmassy. Really, this was a holdover from the holidays, but it's really a winter warmer. And it did win the gold medal at the New York State Brewers competition.
Oh, nice.
In the strong ale category.
Mm-hmm.
And
Grimm also won Brewery of the Year at same said competition, New York State beer competition.
Well, Grimm knows what's up.
And looking at, I know we're showing you a little behind the curtain here. I know I can hear this later when I'm editing it. But what was the name again? That I was too busy cleaning up my spill that I didn't hear you say the full name of it before.
5X.
It's just 5X. Well, that's the whole name of it. 5X's.
Yeah.
It's just
cool.
XXXXX.
Yeah.
Hot.
Excellent.
Oh, see, because the X, now here's the thing, it's a visual joke, so I'm going to put it out there for the people who can't. So there's 4 X's that make like a box, but then, and they have the little like serifs on there with the like little feet, and then the internal feet that are making the box are connected by an additional X. Right. So that's where the 5th X is.
Well, it is separate. It is separate.
It is separate, but it's connecting them. They're all one.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than just calling it L.
That's true. That would be that's the cop-out version of this beer. That's the like off-brand version of this beer. It's just L.
Right. L. I like
you get everything from the Beer Avengers podcast, including Roman numeral jokes.
Oh, God. Right. Well, we should check in on Globehopper's beer.
Oh, yeah.
It is going down very quickly. As the classic Italian-style Pilsner. This one, though, is pretty cloudy, as you can see. It's not pretty see-through, but it is nice, light, low bitterness, easy to drink. I did forget to say it is 5.2%. So nice, gentle. And one reason why I thought this was an appropriate one is that with Schenker, which, Captain, I do know you did have the collab with, I think it was Timber.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I was just looking it up. It was called Chasing Shadows. It was a 12% Imperial Stout. And that was on episode 99. So this is 2 Schenker episodes in a row.
Well, there you go. This one is not a collab. This is just them. Yeah. However, the owner and brewer, Joey Pepper Malusi, he actually started as a barback at the Pony Bar.
Hey!
And then he ended up moving over to Torst and then was actually the head brewer in about 2016, 2017 at our RIP Folksbier.
Oh.
And then once they closed down, he started Schenker, which they do, think of it as a contract or nomadic brewery. So this is actually also brewed with their friends over at 12%.
Look at that. It's a full tour of the excellence that is the New York City beer scene right there.
Let 100%. No one say there is no upward mobility in the craft beer world.
From barback to head brewer.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
rags to riches story.
Absolutely. This one I'm having here. It's I really love Central Waters. In fact, I'm going to look at that spreadsheet and see just how many we've had a bunch of things from them. We've had in the time we've done 100 episodes, we've had over 400 individual breweries. I can't say for sure how many beers we've had because I gave everyone equal credit for all of the. Every time we had a collab, I didn't divide that into half because that would be too confusing. But as far as Central Waters goes, wait a minute, I could have sworn we had more than this. No, we've only had them on once before, and I think it was the Ghost Pepper one. It may have been called Space Ghost or whatever it is, but it was an Imperial Stout with a ghost pepper in it. But they've long been one of my very favorites. We're talking about barley wines. I would say the first time I ever tasted a barley wine that I really could get behind was a Central Waters. It was with you, Beer Wonder. It was at the Bronx Ale House. It was afternoon when we went to Gun Hill. I have another story about that soon too. We went to Gun Hill. We went to the what's the one in the market there?
That's Bronx.
Beer
that's
Hall.
Not Bronx Beer Hall. Yep, Bronx Beer House.
That's what they call it there. Yeah.
Yep, and then the Bronx Ale House.
And then we finished off with the Ale House, and they had a bunch of Central Waters, and I had a barrel aged barley wine. I'm like, oh, okay, that barrel really takes the edge off that, like the sharper taste you have of the barley wine.
Totally.
And yeah, so this one, having had, I just yesterday had a 19.4% beer from the brewery that was the BR. That's the name of the brewery, BRUERY,
right,
out of California. Placentia. Do I have that right, Huck?
Placentia.
Oh, I wouldn't know if it's Placentia or Placentia or definitely not Placenta.
Orange County.
We're treading on fire right there.
But okay. Pronounce there's an I in there, but yeah, I had like a 19.4% Imperial Stout from them yesterday. That like the plumminess was so overwhelming. This is still definitely there, but I still taste a little more of those like nice chocolatey notes to it as well. It's a very nice sipping beer, and so delicious. I should have just been licking up everything around here for that little spill I had. But nonetheless, fortunately, I have other beers, and this is really quite wonderful.
Nice.
Well, it looks like it is another excellent set of pours all around.
It is, yeah. 100 episodes in, we there's no shortage of wonderful beers.
Yeah, most definitely. But I feel like after 100 episodes, I know I'm starting to feel a little reflective about this.
Yeah, I've been feeling a little bit reflective as well. In fact, we reached out to all of our guests we've had on the show. There have been 33, I believe, total. And so if you include the three of us, there have been 36 voices you've heard off and on over the last almost 4 years. And so I reached out to say, like, if anyone had any reflections they might have on it. And I got a few. The first one I got was from someone, well, you might know them as Triple, always the Triple, also known as Emil. We said his name on the episode, and that's who the email came from. So here, I'll just read this here. Congratulations on your 100th episode. It is quite an accomplishment. My time on the podcast was great fun for me and provided me an opportunity to reflect, there's that word again, on how I got interested in beer. I've appreciated the podcast that I've heard, both learning about and getting a better understanding of the range of beers that are out there. However, my most memorable experience with all of you was the beer tour that we went on through Belgium and Germany. It was a chance for me to get to know you all and to try new beers together, as well as visiting incredible breweries. What a wonderful experience! ! Who can forget our guide at the hop farm or the tour of Brewery Huey, which I'm probably butchering, my Dutch is not good. Not to mention my discovering Triple Ale. However, the highlight was getting my Beer Vengers shirt. Triple, always a triple. Will there be a 200th episode? Best, Emil. We'll get back to you on that, Emil. It could happen. It could happen. Yeah. Let's see. We also got one from, this is from John Peacock, who we named the Super Chiller. Let's see. He said, congratulations. And they put a bunch of emojis that look kind of like, well, one of them looks like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. We talked about him a little while ago. And the other two look like a woman, like doing some kind of flamenco dancing.
Okay.
And so you can kind of see those there.
It's complicated.
Yeah. And then he said, lots of exclamation points on either side of it, because I guess going with the flamenco, the whole Spanish kind of thing, exclamation marks on both sides. Congratulations. And then, reflections. We'll reflect and get back to you.
Nice.
And he has not yet, so we're just going to stick with that one.
Fair enough.
And we have one more from Cider Girl.
Oh, we know her.
Yeah, it says, hi, all Beer Vengers, Cider Girl here. I am proud to have been part of Beer Venging from the inception. My only regret is that I don't like beer. Here is to 100 episodes, thousands of different beers. May our futures be full of tasty adventures.
Yeah.
Cider Girl. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not sure how good Cider Girl's math is, because I don't think we've averaged 10 beers an episode.
I think in our collective narrative, there have been over.
Well, that is definitely true.
1,000 beers.
Yeah,
like if we start adding,
we've definitely had probably close to 500 different beers on all of those. But because when I added up all the stuff, the weird math I was talking about, but yeah, so we're very grateful to all of those and all the people who are thinking and didn't express them to us. I'm sure you're out there as well. So thank you for what I imagine you're doing. So I mentioned earlier we had a specific agenda for having the Globe Hopper on. One thing you may not know about the Globe Hopper is that not only is he a wonderful beervenger and colleague to have on the show, he's also one of the biggest beervenger fans out there. We release our episodes on Monday, and if I have a beer with the Globe Hopper on a Monday afternoon, he's listened to it and has some thoughts on it all the time. So we thought he was the best example to be a surrogate for all of you out there listening to us. We have over 4,000 downloads, since we started all this. So we thought he would be a wonderful surrogate. Figure out what questions, things he might know about us already, things maybe thought you might like to know. And so I asked the Globe Hopper to come on here to interview the three of us to maybe to reflections on 100 episodes. I use that word a lot, reflections.
Reflections. So let's reflect on the reflections of reflecting on the reflections of our beer reflections. Was that enough reflections on there?
I think they're sort of they're
X X X X X X X X
Yes.
X. Okay, got it.
I think 10 X's here. Yeah.
Just making sure I got the right number in there.
No, so yeah, I mean, I love listening. Obviously, friends, colleagues, great beer drinkers. I will always say my favorites, and you folks know this, and it's been mentioned on the cast before. Second pour or like 2-part episodes done in the same day, favorite ones. Best time on a train listening to the Beer Wonder, going 2 to 3 beers in. Always a good time. Always a great time. But there are some questions that I feel like the viewers or listeners do want to know. And obviously you've already mentioned you've had how many, roughly about 500 different beers?
I think so. Yeah. What I did was on that spreadsheet that I sent you, I have all the breweries listed and all the times they're represented. So that means that breweries have now been represented 500 and I had it number down here. Believe it was, I think something like 508 times, and that includes collaboration. So there's probably at least 20 in there that only represent 10 beers. So roughly 500.
Roughly 500. That's a lot. That's a lot of beers.
A significant number of beers, yeah.
So my question is, having all those beers, how's your daily beer drinking activities influenced by having to have those 500 beers? So does you drinking a beer outside of the podcast, how has that been influenced over the years on what you choose to or not to drink, or activities like breweries or bars to go to make sure you have, a good story or content? So how has that influenced your everyday life?
I would say it was always an extension of my everyday life, because anytime I go, it like started out back when we mentioned this going back to the first episode. I may have mentioned that I re-listened to that yesterday in preparation for this to see how we were doing with that. And we were talking about the Pony Bar being our first place where we really dived into this one. And Pony Bar had just had this setup that was like, I want to try everything. I want to, not necessarily everything. And if I have one that I don't like, I'm not going to have it again. But it was always, I mean, part of that was somewhat influenced by the fact that you got a prize for drinking 100 different beers, drinking 420 beers, now 1,000 different beers. But I also never wanted to have a beer I didn't like just to add to my numbers. Because I remember when we were going there, Susanna was saying some people did that. They would just like, oh, I don't want this one, but I need more numbers. And so I would say the biggest difference in my like here, we mostly don't give ourselves permission to have a beer twice. And I generally don't do that a lot in the wild either, but I do have to give myself permission to do it. We can't do it here. So that's the biggest difference. Is I will like, I want to expand my thing. I'm right now I'm closing in on 1,600 unique beers on Untappd, but but I really love that beer, and I'm going to have that beer again. What about you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say with the show, I always feel like bringing something on that's odd, that's different. Although I have had a lot of normal beers, but like our third show, I had a beer from Equilibrium. It was bright blue. Remember, it was like snow
Yeah.
cone blue.
It was weird.
It was an IPA. It was definitely weird. I'm trying to get back to it. Oh, there we go. Episode 3. Equal 2 tickets to Pellet Ice. It was
A
called.
great name too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good.
And so that, just to experience that for the first time on the air is fun. But as far as like going to places, I do tend to go and drink what I want. Like the other night, I was out and I'm like, oh, there's an ice bock. I never had one, and so I got it. So I like to try everything, but I also have been living that lager life quite a bit in the past couple of years, but always want to try the weirdest thing. You know what I had last night? A michelada.
Oh yeah. Those.
It was awful.
How'd that go for you?
Oh my God!
I was gonna say, the captain sent me a picture of Blind Tiger, if I recall, that was selling micheladas.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think it's part of their whole brunch thing. They're having brunch now. I mean, fortunately, it doesn't interfere with them still having a wonderful beer list. But I've been hearing about them a lot lately, and I don't want tomato juice in my beer.
That's fair.
There are a lot of wonderful.
Me.
Huh.
I can't handle all that salt on the edge of the glass.
I mean, I've had some wonderful beers with tagine rims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That helps with the michelada for sure. Rather than the salt, do the tahini rim. That's way better.
Yeah, I think I believe that the Globehopper may have, unfortunately, some michelada experience. But
I have a lot of michelada experience.
Yeah. Oh yes, that's right.
I've noticed in my beer two things. First, having this was a reason to kind of get back in the world as the pandemic was reopening. Right, it was sort of a reason. Every week we had to report in, and when we weren't really seeing each other as much, it was like a reason to go out and get a beer, to go to some.
Well, I feel like when we first started doing it, it was well before it started reopening.
Exactly. And so as we
started recording these in August of 2020, and our first one was released in October of that same year.
Yes, and I totally. And sort of as things were reopening and as everyone was getting their shots and things like that, it became a reason for me to like get out and have a beer. And it was a reason to get a chance to see all of you, and it was a reason for us to get together. And so that for me, like it started really as a purposeful reason to kind of go out and do things in the world again, which was kind of great because it was our social space, right? We were getting together and having beers together.
Yeah.
We were using the podcast as a way to connect with each other, to have a beer together, to have a reason to talk with each other and all of that. And then as the world reopened, then it became about like going out and doing things in the world and bringing it back, even though we were kind of all doing it slowly. And then of course, everything totally kind of exploded and we all were doing everything. And so then we were back to sort of our normal drinking habits. I will say I still go out and have an IPA, but as I texted Huck and the captain relatively recently, you might notice that the Beer Wonder usually drinks an IPA on the show. And while I do certainly have one from the provider, tonight is an amber ale. And I am moving away from the intensely hoppy beers in my taste. And I am starting to live, as Huck might say, that lager life.
That lager life, yeah.
And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I'm being very much attracted to beers that are not an intense hop profile now, which is sort of a change for me. And I think that this beer cast and being able to be very conversant in IPAs and being very conversant in hops by the time we were done kind of encouraged me to get more creative with what I was drinking and expand that palate a little bit. So both socially and like my own personal drinking, I think the beer cast has really influenced both of those things.
I will also say that since Huck brought up the 2 tickets to Pellet Ice thing in episode 3, I wound up looking that up myself, and I said that we almost never repeat a beer.
No, that's my fault.
Episode 3 was the one. No, not just your fault, because one was mine and we did it intentionally. We decided the vintage changed the
Yes.
rules.
Yes.
But episode 3 was when I had Void of Light from Gun Hill.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The first time. And we brought it back. First time it was in a can in 2020. The second time it was on draft in 2023. So I think that's different enough. And I stand by that. I defend that decision.
I feel like the overlords of the Beer Avenger sphere will certainly grant you grace on that.
Yeah. Well, we are them.
Exactly. We make our own rules, damn it.
There's no one above us. Yeah. We tell you the rules so we can break them.
I will say I just had the Void of Light Barrel Age 2023.
Wow.
Couple weeks, like a week ago, over at the Gun Hill Public House. And it was their last sixtel of it. And 2024 won't be released until 2025.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right.
So I was like, it's
a monumental moment, especially given the news about Gun Hill and the way that they're changing their model.
Yeah, we should maybe. I feel if we talk about that right now, we would derail the interview process, but we definitely need to talk about that at some point or another.
That's the beauty of an interview, though, Captain, is we can derail. So what I feel like I feel the listeners do want to know about Gun Hill. We'll
all right, we don't need to tease
guys.
that. This is a trend that's been happening more and more. Is places that are. Huck, when I mentioned this to all you guys the other day, you had a good name for it, and I can't remember what it was. But the idea that places that we've got more and more places in New York that had a beer that was named after the place they were brewing.
Yeah, that is true.
The thing in that place. And so Gun Hill is the latest casualty of that. They are shutting their original Bronx location. They're keeping the public house open in Brooklyn. They're going to be doing most of their brewing, if not all of their brewing, at Vosburg, which we've talked about them before. We knew there was a relationship between the two of them. When I was at the Barrel Age Festival back in January, they probably had like my favorite one there. And when I told Dave Lopez, the owner of Gun Hill, he said, "Yeah, that's basically Vosburg's version of Void of Light." And so pretty much all the Vosburg and Gun Hill is going to be brewed in the same place. But yeah, if you didn't hear the previous episodes, Big Alice had a similar thing last year where they're still keeping their name, but they closed the Long Island City location. Coney Island is still keeping Coney Island Brewing up. No Coney Island location. So it's I kind of feel like things go forward that breweries maybe shouldn't name themselves after the place they're in, because it makes it really bittersweet when you can't get it there anymore.
Yeah. Or I would also say the rent is too damn high.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's definitely true. Although I would think that the space they have in the Bronx was probably lower than a lot of I would imagine the place they have in the Bronx is probably cheaper than the Industry City Public House.
Probably.
No, probably, but at the same time, it does appear that the rent is too damn high, because that was why they said they were leaving.
Yeah. I know. I completely agree. But it's interesting how even all these breweries that specifically choose their location because it's a little off the beaten path and they turn it into a destination. Mm-hmm. Even Big Alice. I mean, that was a pretty small space too. I'll give them that. I don't know how much they actually were able to brew there. And I'm sure they have a lot more space up in the Finger Lakes, but it still is I don't know. It's the rent is too damn high and it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't even want to suggest this even, but I'm going to, I just use this as an example. If Single Cut decided to close their Astoria location and do everything at their upstate, it wouldn't have the same effect, because the name Single Cut isn't really associated with 1933 37th Street.
That's true. That is very true.
And the idea that all these places that are like Big Alice has Long Island City in the title, Coney Island, Gun Hill, they're all about geographically where they are, and now they're like, all right, this is just where it was conceived, and now it's can be anywhere. But that's all right. That's rant over.
I mean,
they're still going to have great beer available.
That is true.
So that's
and the Industry City location is a lovely spot to have a beer.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it when I'm a little more sober when I get there.
That's true. We did. It was we had an experience all over.
Yeah,
there.
that's the only time I've been there was right after we did the kickoff back in 2023.
Right.
But I look forward to going back again since it's the only place I can go in New York City to go there anymore.
Yeah.
All right, so we've
my sediment is settling here. I don't know if we get a look at that.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
That's nice.
See that?
pretty. Junkie? Well, I was asking, is it chunky?
Oh, chunky. No, yeah, it's all settled. So as you drink it, you can swirl it in and get in
the
those
chunks.
Good,
All right, so
those good
clearly
chunky bits.
the quintuple X is lasting, but I think some of us might. Before we need to get, I know we've only let you ask one question so far, Globehopper, because clearly we have a lot to talk about.
I've also been drinking a lot, so it's fine.
That's true.
And I see that you're getting to the end of your glass, and I've just gotten to the end of my glass, so maybe it's time to do some second pours.
Oh my goodness! Already, let's do it.
Go for it.
Yeah, well, 40 minutes in, Beer Wonder. I know.
I know. That's a reasonable amount. It is a reasonable amount.
Yeah, we usually do a half hour. Yeah,
I know.
You know what? I think it would only be polite to let the captain go first.
Whoa! My influence is outside of the Beer Avenger sphere. Oh, I'm so proud.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that gracious courtesy. Yes, clearly, Beer Wonder has been a wonderful influence on you.
Thank you.
And this is actually a beer that I was. First of all, I should say this doesn't happen a lot. This is another
Sponsored pour.
No way.
Sponsored pour. Two sponsored pour in the same episode, and I was so glad when the provider gave me this one because this is a beer that I've really, really liked going to Torch and Crown. And in fact, Beer Wonder, you and I were there a couple of months ago.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I had, and speaking of like beers that I have twice more than wanting to have a bunch of different beers, I had this one twice when we were hanging out.
Oh,
this
nice.
is the latest edition of Heavy Crown Imperial Stout. And it's also a 10% alcohol, but it's also a taller one. It does contain lactose, coffee beans, cacao nibs, vanilla. Just really, I can't say for sure that it's better than the first edition from a year ago, but I can say I experience it as better. So,
Okay.
our palates are mysterious things. All right, so here we go. I'll try not to spill this one.
Ooh.
There we go.
Wow.
Ooh.
TNC action.
Wow.
Very subtle head there.
Almost nothing. Yeah, that's
Coming up.
impressive.
Yeah, and let's bring this up so we can see them together. Heavy Crown.
Heavy Crown. I think I've had that. I had the first version of that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. All right, Globehopper, what do you have?
I have actually from our friends over at Brew Gentlemen.
Oh, wow.
This is The Trees. This is an American IPA made with fresh spruce tips.
Oh,
Nice.
so sprucey.
For some reason, I don't know why there's so many spruce beers over in Pennsylvania. Ooh, that is.
Do they have a lot of spruce trees there?
I don't think so, but I recently had also a spruce goza from Philly as well, or Pittsburgh, sorry. But this one is literally popping out of the can.
I sometimes find the spruce tips can give it a smoky feel.
Yeah.
Let's get that.
See if you pick up any of that on there.
Oh, nice. Really good.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. While this trend is continuing, and this is going to shock many of our listeners at home, the Wonder is going to go for a second pour.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
It's very rare it's very rare that this happens.
Well, it's even more rare is that Huck is the last one to the second pour. Huck is usually the first one to the second pour.
I know, but today I'm going to be. Here's the thing: I'm keeping the magic going with the captain because my second pour is also a
sponsored pour.
Four sponsored pours in a show. Well, this is unprecedented.
The Beer and Cheese Collective really pulling through. This is from Lamplighter Brewing. Dazed and Confused India Pale Ale. I had to end with the seal the 100th one with my favorite style. Of course, it is an IPA. Looking forward to this guy. I love the tie-dye sensibilities of it. Hopefully, it'll make me dazed and confused by the time I'm done. So let's see what it's got to give.
For so long, it's not new.
Who is this by?
Lamplighter.
out of
Out of
Massachusetts.
Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like kind of a real electric color to it there. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
hazy, but it's like it's bright. It's popping.
Yeah. Well, just like the can.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That is a really remarkable can. It's got all those colors in it.
and it tastes like juice.
There you go.
It's
Right
exactly
on.
what it should be. It's, you got a happy hopper, or not happy hopper. That's you. I'm a happy wonder over here.
I mean, I'm also happy.
Good, as you should be.
All right. Any more questions for us, Globe Hopper?
So we have been having good beers. This is going to be a controversial question. You
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
You don't have to answer this. If you want to stay anonymous, that's fine. Let's start with this one. What is the best beer you've ever had on the cast,
On the show.
or your favorite that you can
Right,
remember?
first.
Again, we've just told our listeners that had over 500 beers, so hard to remember all of them.
Gosh.
It's interesting you say about the favorite, because we used to argue about that early on in the podcast.
Well, I know
Not argue, but
I always
banter.
said favorite was the right word to use as opposed to best. That's
Right.
what it came down to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why I say favorite, not best.
Well, I
Boy,
can
oh boy.
I can definitely say what has been a favorite of mine for years, and I remember actually when I got to introduce it on the Beercast. It was when it was pretty early on. It was when our favorite, your favorite neighborhood Tripel man showed up, and that was sort of early on in our episode list. I think it was probably like 10 or something. No, not after 10. It was maybe later than 10. But I got to introduce from our friends at Five Boroughs Brewing Company the Tiny Juicy IPA. Which is a beer that I have always adored, even in my advancing lager years. And so I remember that being fun because I that's just a beer that feels like home to me and remains pretty special. So certainly that was sort of an exciting, fun one for me that I was really happy to get to share with everybody.
Right.
So I can throw that one out as certainly a favorite one that showed up for me.
I'm going to go that same path as you because I don't think I've ever discovered a new favorite beer on the podcast that I can recall. Although I may go through the catalog and put something on the socials at some point. But yeah, to me, it was more about bringing favorite ones that I'd established, and in some instances, ones that were favorites that I couldn't fucking believe we hadn't had on the show yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That happened as recently as. Well, the most recent one I remember for sure was when I was in Ohio last September, and I brought on the Dragon's Milk from New Holland.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Which is just for years had just always gone on and on about how great this beer was, and I suddenly realized, and this is why the spreadsheet is so useful. How have I never had that on the show? So
yeah,
had to have that on the show. Similar thing, which was somewhat recent, with AleSmith Speedway Stout. I have loved every single incarnation of that one. We might have had the chocolate one on, the Mexican chocolate one, but I may not have because that was one that I certainly like. These are all beers that I've talked about, but then at some point I realized, how have I not had on the show? That needs to be logged in on the show.
Exactly.
And then another one I would mention would be Old Rasputin. And one of my favorites that I haven't really seen in New York since we started doing the podcast, and I miss intensely, is the Yeti from Great.
Oh, the Yeti, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had a beer. I've always liked this brewery out of Boston, Trillium Brewing, and we've had a few Trilliums on the show, but they make this amazing Berliner Weiss called Daily Serving, and they make it with different fruit flavors. Very light alcohol beer, but I mean the flavor and the taste. So you had Daily Serving with pomegranate and blackberry. I'll go with that. And that was on episode 14.
Nice.
Wow. All right.
Yep. I do also want to call out a kind of ridiculous favorite that we have here. This was a very special episode that actually the Globe Hopper and the Captain were present for. Unfortunately, Huck missed this one. I had a very unique beer. It was called the Boud Lit Lime. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember.
I do
Boudli
remember
Lime.
them.
It was a very
Yeah.
unique one. I believe you had one from.
All right.
You had an interesting Australian beer that day, Glow Popper.
Yeah.
it was
The
very.
Foasters.
Foasters, if I believe
Yeah.
that was what it was called. Yeah, it was an interesting episode. We
Well,
really
that was
kinda
one
going around with
that was one that had to be a two pour show for all. That was another one of Beer Wonder's rare two pour shows because once we got
We had
the
to
metro
cleanse the
bullshit out of
palate.
the way, we had to get something good in on the show. Yeah. That was an interesting one. Now I can't remember. Did we dumb things down at all for the Boilermaker episode, or did we all find something? Actually, Huck, I think you might have had something like Sam Adams Lager. That's not a perfectly fine beer, or maybe a
Did have a Sam Adams.
yeah.
If I recall, I went to Randolph and got something from them. If I remember, so it was we were staying within stylistic things, but a lot of us were either choosing like crafty macros or we were choosing sort of more.
I think we basically decided anything could be lager,
Right,
and
yeah.
that would be a good one. But yes, the Boudli Lime.
it was a very unique taste profile.
And
And you had so you had an award-winning beer, right?
Yes, it was like a Blue Ribbon Award winning.
Oh yeah, it was very
but
exciting.
it was PBR extra.
Oh yeah, well you can't with the captain. You have to take it up a level. You can't just do a normal beer.
Well, you have to, except when you don't, because you tried to shame me when I was in Fresno, and you got that picture of me with the PBR. The truth is that I hang.
I was concerned. I was
I'm
concerned.
gonna tell you. I hang up the Super Chiller roughly once a week, and the place we always go to is the White Horse Tavern, right in downtown, not far from the Staten Island Ferry.
Uh-huh.
And every day they have for $5 you can get a PBR and a shot of well whiskey. So that's what we usually do when we're there.
If that's what you need to do, then you do what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they don't have a great beer list anyway. So it's not like there's a whole lot of much better beers I could get there anyway. So it's like, you know what? Let's just get to the buzz. Let's do it. $5. Great deal. Best deal in town.
Honestly, that is a really good deal. I know Huck was on the journey to find the $4 pours. So $5 with a whiskey, that's pretty good.
Although I still do love that this question started out as what are your favorite beers, and I ended up with PBR and a shot of well whiskey.
That's Beer Wonder's fault.
I did. I took us from favorites to memorables because I think I know where this question is going now that we've done favorites. Yes.
Yes. Least favorites.
Okay.
I'll throw another one in. Smog City Coffee Porter.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Ooh,
I have one in my fridge right now. It's just the best coffee porter around. I had that on the show recently.
Yeah,
I can't think of one specifically because I tried. Most of the time I would pre-sample it before we got it on the show, and I wouldn't generally have it on. But sometimes we would have ones we hadn't tried, and they weren't great. Although I do remember Huck had one or two where he introduced me to a new definition for the word DP, because our fans of porn out there might know it as double penetration. And our other kinds of cinephile friends might refer to it as director of photography.
Also,
right?
Huck.
But Huck introduced me to yet another word that DP might stand for.
Yeah, that's the drain pour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you did come up with a couple of beers that you just like you smiled and had a good response to, but as soon as we turned off the mics, you said, "Yeah, that was a drain pour."
That's a DP.
I have a distinct one that I remember. Was just it's the only one that I have ever literally taken it and said really nice things on the Beercast about, put it away, and then never touched it for the rest of the thing. I had it was a New York-based brewery, not New York City. I don't remember specifically the brewery, or I'm also not. I would not say this, but they had made a Hefeweizen that I had, and it tasted like someone basically like vomited over a banana. And that was the only way I could describe it. And I remember literally like gulping it down and smiling and being like, "Oh yeah, the banana is strong here." And then literally walking away from the microphone and pouring it down the drain and pouring myself a glass of water and doing a glass of water for the rest of the episode because it was so disgusting. And I don't mind banana in my beer. Like I kind of, it's a flavor profile.
Yeah, like some of the Belgian beers have like definitely banana taste to them.
Exactly, but this one was truly disgusting, like to a point where I I'm surprised that I actually was able to say nice things about it because, but other than that, I've never had one that I was like, this is gross, except that experience. And someone can go through the back archives because I haven't had that many hefts on the
Nope.
Beercast.
Yeah.
So you could probably figure out which one it was if you wanted to listen back through 100 episodes.
Since I can't name one we've had on the show, I will go back to one that we've talked about on the show, and that was a Barrier beer, and I really like Barrier a lot. And but all of our favorite breweries swing for the fences, and
Yep.
sometimes that means they hit a home run, and sometimes they just miss it. And this was a beer called Frau Blücher.
Oh,
I think Huck liked it. And
Yeah.
I got a taste of it and I liked it. And the more I drank it, the less I liked it. It like the full pour
wild.
it just felt like greasy in my throat. It was basically meant to be like a bacon flavored beer. And the idea that like a beer tasting like smoked bacon, there's some good ideas there. But the more I drank it, like I can barely finish this. No, that was how I felt about Frau Blücher.
Yeah,
In fact,
I had
it was
in
one
the
of the
Bronx.
Yeah,
I remember where I was, and I never had it again. I don't think.
I had
And
it
I
at the
was like,
Pony
That's a
Bar.
great smoked beer.
Huh.
Yeah, and that was at Pony. It's not a bad pour or anything.
Yeah. It was one of those things where I think at some point or another I had like, well, maybe it was a bad keg. Maybe I should try it again. I'm like, no, this tastes exactly the same. I will have countless number of wonderful Barrier beers again, but I'm not having that one.
Well, I learned on the podcast that I do not like pastry seltzers.
okay.
We had one of those Evil Twin pastry seltzers. The pastry seltzers are made with lactose. They're like, I don't know. They just like hit my system and like I don't know. I don't know if I have an allergy or what. But I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Well, pastry seltzers don't
And
have
I'll
like
take a
the
White Claw, but
yeah, but they don't have the grain like a pastry stout or like
Yeah.
even a pastry sour. It's just carbonated water and lactose. It's just carbonated milk. You're
It's
just
really,
drinking carbonated milk.
yeah,
you're setting yourself up for
wasn't good.
failure. You're setting
was
yourself
not
up for
good.
failure there.
Yeah, the wild
But
thing is
the,
I think looking
go
at
ahead.
everything on here, Evil Twin is far and away the brewer we've had on more than any other.
Well, that makes
Uh,
sense for lots of reasons, both like our taste profiles and what we enjoy and the fact that we like things that swing, wide, but also
Sure,
like,
they make wonderful imperial stouts. They make great IPAs.
and I live near them.
Yeah.
During the
and,
pandemic, they were shipping, and they were you could go pick them up,
mhm.
rather, and they had
Yeah.
just opened. They had like a terrible
Right, the one in Queens is just open.
timing on their opening, but because they were ETNYC, they were still making plenty of beers to sell.
Yeah.
So I went by there a couple of times. Oh, and because I had the beer naming thing,
Yeah.
I like named a couple of beers,
Right.
and then I called them up and said, "Oh, where's my prize for naming these beers?" And then there was like an email. Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember
Like,
that. Yeah.
There was a reply all on the email, Jonathan. It was like, I said, I wasn't being pushy. I was just like, "Oh, so is there a prize?" And this guy wrote, a brewer wrote to another brewer, and I included me on it, like CC'd me by mistake. And he said, "This guy wants beer now." And then realizing what he had done, he was so apologetic that they did send me a bunch of beers and a glass and stickers. And so Evil Twin was a real favorite during the pandemic for sure.
sure.
When it started out.
Well, Huck, I think that's
always
think
had
that
him in the house.
I feel that's just such a perfect bookend because, like I mentioned, I re-listened to the episode 1 yesterday, and we talked about that, about you naming the beers on that very episode.
There you go.
But we did not tell that part of the story, so I'm glad. So if you listen to episode 1 and episode 100, you'll get the full story of Huck naming Evil Twin.
The
beers.
full narrative. Well, look, and we can drop the dirt now because Evil Twin's doing fine, and you know.
Oh, sure they are. Yeah, they're doing fine. I think. Arguably, they weren't. Or they're not. They're
doing fine then too.
What I'm saying is, business wise, they're still doing fine.
Right.
I don't know if they're as good as they were 4 years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have been having them out here because of Spokeasy, so I've had a few.
I still enjoy their beers.
Like
yeah,
I said, that barley wine I was like head over heels with.
It's a personal taste sort of thing. I've talked about it on the show a lot. But I feel that the pastry stout thing has become too dominant in the stout that is available, and I think Evil Twin has leaned into that really hard. I think so many of their I don't it's rare that I will have a pastry stout from Evil Twin that comes even close to the first time I tasted Even More Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
That blew my fucking mind the first time I had it. And every time I would get like an Imperial Stout from Evil Twin, I'm like, this is fucking amazing. But in recent years, they've leaned so much into the sugar that I'm just, every time I see like, the cookies and, their long titles, cookies and cream and caramel and the kitchen sink and the whatever else it is on the list they have on the long title. It's just like, I'm a little more cautious. There's some of their Imperial Stouts I still run out and get. I'll send Beer Wonder, since he lives close to it, to get them for me. But there are a lot of ones that I see where like, this is going to be overkill. A lot of the beers are overkill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will find if or maybe that's working for them. I don't know. But that's my Evil Twin rant.
Which you have to have a rant for someone. I mean, we don't have any logic.
Here's
here,
the thing:
so,
it's just like if you have someone you love, but you feel they've strayed from what makes them the wonderful person they are. You have to give them some tough love and be honest and say, like, I love you, but and I know you're capable of wonderful things, but you're not living up to your potential anymore.
True.
And that's how I feel about Evil Twin some of the time.
I'm
rooting for them.
They have so many different beers that they crank them out. So
I mean, that's also possible. That's probably part of their overkill problem as well, is because they're much more about volume than about concentrating on quality, I feel.
I mean, I like their lagers and like I said, that barley wine, but they can't all be gems.
It's true.
But I did like the This Is Hugo that you had recently. I'm glad that made its way to California.
Love that.
That is a recent one that I loved very much, which is why I still know they're capable of greatness, even if they might have lost their way a little bit.
Well, and I've found that with them, because I don't really get into their pastry stouts, but they're
everybody, it's Cider Girl.
Oh
hey,
my gosh!
Oh, now she's
a star has arrived.
All right. So for those of you who are watching this on video, which is none of you, Cider Girl just walked into the room with Huck and she waved and walked away. I thought she was setting herself up for a cameo appearance, but anyway. So I'm sorry. Where were we?
I think it's probably time for another
really
question.
Good. So my beer is really good, by the way.
Mine is too. I love this beer.
Another question. I think so. Let's go. So we've talked about the beers we've liked, beers not so much, which it is funny. Beer Wonder, I know exactly which one you're talking about as an avid listener. So we won't dig into that.
We don't need to, but like, oh boy, you could probably hear it because you know me pretty well. You could probably hear it in my voice when I was trying to act as hard as I could.
Yeah. And so I know exactly. I know which one that is. But
also, to our listeners out there, we don't usually lie to you, even if Beer Wonder was that day.
Look, I try to be positive.
We try to be positive, but honesty is good too.
When I feel like Huck is the best at honesty, especially with his Bottle Logic beef.
Very true. And founders, lest we forget fuck founders.
Yeah, fuck founders. I just had a breakfast out yesterday, so that's how into fuck founders I am. I like I was with Belgian Babe at a place in Woodside or Sunnyside or somewhere, some new place there, and they had a wonderful Finback coffee stout called House Blend, and their other one of the rotating taps was Founders Breakfast Stout. Like, I haven't had that forever. I'm having a breakfast stout. Fuck founders, but fuck me, I'm having one. So anyway,
it was good.
Yeah,
everyone's getting fucked.
Yeah,
it's good. We like it.
Yeah, we don't see founders out here at all. I've never seen them in a. in a bar.
Well, then you don't have as many moral dilemmas as we do here on this coast.
Yeah.
But I do. But the Globe Hopper does have a
Modern
question,
times.
and I've
Yes.
pulled him fully off of his track.
No,
so.
it's fine. Also, that house blend from Finback is really good. If anyone doesn't have it, it's so good. Which I can go into a whole story as how they make that one, but that's a story for another time that Captain will just talk about over a beer. But my question is there a specific, I don't want to say specific beer, let's say specific state that you have always wanted, or brewery you've wanted to bring on the podcast, but had never made it? Either you just drank it or just never found.
Yeah, I got a few of those because I go to different states, or I've been to different states over the years, and I don't bring them back in my bag. The captain will do that.
I have,
but
well,
I always like to do a carry on, so I don't put beers in them. So, like Arizona, for example, I've gone to Phoenix a couple of times. There's really good breweries there. Wren House I just went to, and AZ Wilderness. I'm like, oh, I wish I could have them on the show. But it wasn't meant to be. Could have mailed them to myself. If I worked a little harder.
For me, this is one that I think I might have had something on the show. I'll have to go back to the spreadsheet. Yes, you're listening to us in real time talking about these things. So I am looking this up here. Okay, this is one we only had on the show one time, but every time I've had this beer, every time I have everything from them, I've gotten some at Beer and Cheese Collective. I've also gotten some from Tavor. I've also saw it when it was in Australia. So we've been able to have them on the show, but it's a city that I would never, I'm not saying I would never visit it, but it would never occur to me to visit it until I started falling in love with this brewery, and that is Prairie Brewing out of Oklahoma. I don't know that I would ever plan a vacation to Oklahoma. Nothing against Oklahoma. If anyone's listening to Oklahoma, I'm looking forward to visiting, and you can show me around and make me understand what's great about it. But there's sometimes when I see certain breweries that I really love, I'm like, I know that if you go to the source, you'll get stuff that's even better than what I can get. And so yeah, Prairie is on that list. I'm also actually going to add another one to the list that I've had on the show that I've gotten from Tavor, that I've also had when I've been in Dayton, and that I'm actually going to be visiting in just a couple of weeks. And that's Hoppin' Frog out of Akron.
Oh yeah.
Those of you who've been listening to all these episodes know that my father passed away in September, and I'm going back to his house in Memorial Day weekend, and I decided to make a little vacation out of it. So I'm driving the car I have now, and my plan is to stop at Hoppin' Frog on the way, because I love their beer so much that I just want to see where it comes from.
That's cool. I don't think I've had one that I really wanted to bring on the beer cast, mostly because I primarily drink local. I primarily drink New York City beers, and so, or things that are very easily to get in New York. So I've been and I'm really lucky that I live between two breweries, and that I have so many friends who work in the beer industry, and that of course we have the provider. So there's not been one that I've been pining for. That said, I will say some of my favorite things to report back on the beer cast have been when we as Beer Vengers have traveled together. So I'm thinking about the Fresno trip. I'm thinking about the Germany trip. Those have been some really special moments. And I kind of wish we could have brought some of the beers that we were tasting in those places back with us. Having my first Pliny in Fresno was a really cool experience. And I wish we could have done that together on the beer cast. But in terms of what we've done here and what we've had collectively here, I've always been really happy to just be like, look, I'm in New York. The provider has provided. Let's rep the hometown team. So that's always been my go-to.
Nice.
There you go.
That's the answer. And I feel like everyone is happy. I'm just saying that the listeners are happy because I'm just being the proxy right now.
You are the voice of the listeners.
I am the voice.
Yes.
One last question, or maybe not one last. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Huck, this is for you though,
Mm,
because I
Oh, wow.
know the listeners want to know
mm.
the inspiration for the theme songs,
Oh,
both the theme song and the Captain Seller song.
Naturally.
yeah. Actually, the I give Cider Girl a lot of credit for the theme song actually, because she was saying it could be like the Batman theme,
Yeah.
and
No, Batman.
no, Batman, or like the Spider Man. So it's kind of a mashing of those, uh, and then it just kept it. I was like, oh well, we're the Beer Vengers. I mean, so it's like boom, 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 and I just went D minor, C, and a little C drop because I just like D minor. It's the saddest of all keys. Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah.
And then just jump into the C. So, and just a little excitement. We're the Beer Vengers. That's it.
Yeah.
It came quick. We had that one real quick.
Well, and I feel
And what's the other? What's the
the
other
Captain,
song?
the
The
Captain Seller,
Seller.
which I feel like was a stroke of just brilliance one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliance in that it's G F C G. It's like this is. I have another song called "Everything Sucks," and it's exactly the same chords. Well, everything fucking really sucks, including this fucking song, right? So it's like, but it's a little bit different. Right? Going to the Captain Cellar, yeah, a little different melody.
Everything fucking sucks now, yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to acknowledge that in the years we've been doing this, you have upgraded ukes. Because you started
Yeah.
with like a baseline uke, and now it's like an electric uke.
Yeah, I know it's still acoustic. It's got
Okay.
the sound hole is there. But
Okay.
yeah, you can plug it in and it sounds good. It actually is an Ibanez. It's
Oh.
not like so it's designed to look like, that rock and roll guitar, the single cut, if you will. Or this is double cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real thing. So it's actually a really nice instrument. Yeah, but and then of course the thinking of it's filled with stouts and porters.
Yeah.
Made with bricks and mortars. It's a cellar, right?
It's a sound, obviously. It's
And especially saying mortars plural. I really like. I kind of enjoy that.
it is poetry.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's funny.
Simple.
I was sometime in the last year I was sort of like singing the song to someone, and I realized that it is also just by chords and keys slightly removed from the Mission Impossible theme song.
Ah.
And I'd never
It does
noticed
have
that
that-
until
that-
I was just
that
saying
cadence,
beer, 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 beer Avengers, bum, 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 bum.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty much lifted right from that.
It really it is it is
I would never accuse you of such a thing,
It's the
but
Batman
you're allowed
theme,
to say it.
the
Yeah.
Spider-Man theme, and the Mission Impossible theme.
Yeah.
Which honestly, isn't that what the Beer Avengers are? Like, we're your friendly neighborhood drinking buddies. We also come when we are called to save people from bad beer, and we are on a mission to find the best beers out there. Really, we do encompass all.
Yeah. That's who we are.
Yep. And who we will continue to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Come high water or hella. Yeah.
It's all right. Well, it looks like I guess we're starting to wrap up this 100th episode. I do want to talk about a couple. I'm the first episode we did, we talked about belching and about
Yes.
how that happens.
It is a part of beer drinking life.
And it's certainly coming up here a little bit with all this wonderful beer I'm having. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought of that if I hadn't just listened to that yesterday, but that's how it is. So you can go listen to that. That is, even though you probably have all listened to it because it is one of our most downloaded episodes. All of the 4,000, it is up in the top echelon.
Now, I do want to. Before we get there, since it is the top episode, for all the aliens who have listened to that, I do want to say thank you.
Well, yes,
and
aliens
call
or
me.
people from North Carolina, or we don't know, because it's good that you mentioned that, Beer Wonder, because recently you and I were having a beer at the Proletariat. We're having a couple of beers at the Proletariat.
We were plotting the downfall of society. Oh no, wait! I'm sorry. We were just drinking.
And there's a wonderful bartender there. Her name was Sarah. and she was having some troubles with the taps, and she was dealing with it in an amazing way.
Oh God, she was great.
And at some point, yeah, it was great. They had some wonderful beers there. It was actually right after the eclipse.
That's true.
And the beer that I had was an Eclipse beer. What's the brewery for that one?
I could not tell you.
Well, one of you is going to figure it out. I can know that Globehopper and Huck are their brains are
frantically googling it
because they know what I'm talking about. Because I feel like I had it with Huck. I had a version of that with Huck when I was in Fresno. It's anyway. So while we're talking about that, they're looking that up.
They're going to Google it. So yeah.
Yeah, so we were there and we were having these wonderful beers. It was the day of the eclipse, and I had the eclipse beer, and we were talking about, all of a sudden there's all these people looking at the downloading from North Carolina, and then she starts talking about VPNs, and
all right.
And the two of you knew a lot about that. I didn't even though there's ads everywhere. There's fucking billboards. There's stuff on the subway with I didn't realize that this is a thing people do regularly now to hide their location. So we have no idea whether all the people who say they're listening to the show from different places, where they're actually coming from.
VPN, right.
Yeah, but I do again want to just mention that the aliens out there, because I know you're listening.
I'm sure that they would put themselves in North Carolina.
Exactly. But just if you're out there, give me a call. I'm all about this life. Okay, we can figure it out. I'm good
but
with
no matter where people are coming in from, what I think is pretty cool is that after all this time, we have lots of people who are they're going through our whole catalog. Like in the month of April, we had one episode and we had a bunch of downloads, and I think only 20% of those downloads were from that episode. Everything else was from our catalog, which is kind of cool, and that's nice. People are still discovering us or finding it. And so that's awesome. I also wanted to mention that we're not the only thing that is up to 100 episodes. You've heard us talk about Zork and Sweetie and their beer vlogs. I wanted to mention this specifically because Huck is having this Grim beer. Met with them a few weeks ago on the rooftop at Grim. And they interviewed me and had a whole Beer Vengers sort of theme thing going for their 100th episode there. I don't think they've released all 100, but they did just recently release episode 100, and they're go through all these various editing things. Funny thing about Zork and Sweetie is Zork is very much into YouTube, and Sweetie is much more about podcasting. And so that means that most of their vlogs are about 4 minutes long. But since they interviewed me and it was podcast inspired, I think the one that I'm on is a full 17, which Zork decided to make references to the epic filmmakers like Terrence Malick and someone else. But anyway, I was just honored to be there. Had some wonderful beers there. We did not have the Quintuple X. But it has some great beers. So if you want to find their thing, I don't know what the exact address is, but if you, I think I've given you enough information. You can find it. I may even share it on Instagram.
Get out there, look around.
Good stuff. Yeah, look around.
Stay connected.
Look around. It's a hazy shade of.
Drink good beer.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not. Do what you need to do, but at least drink some beer.
Drink beer, try new things. Yeah, try new things.
Clearly, we're all struggling for a final statement because the truth is that we expect to have more episodes in the future, but we're gonna take a little bit of a break. 100 episodes. It's been a lot getting into that, and we're all gonna keep putting things on the socials. And you're welcome to certainly keep downloading it.
But hold on a second. If someone wants to find us on the socials while we're away from the beer casting, where should they look?
Well, there's that little @ symbol that if you're, everyone knows the @ symbol.
Yeah.
But if you have a computer, it's right above the 2. Just shift 2 and you get that @ symbol. And then you write these 2 words as if they're one word.
Okay.
The Beer Vengers.
Okay.
Not just Beer Vengers, not the Space Beer Vengers, the Beer Vengers, all one word. Mm-hmm. You can find us there on the Instagram, on the Facebook. if you must find us on X, go ahead and do that. But we're not actually there, so it might be a while before we respond to you. So the ones that aren't run by how do we describe Elon Musk these days?
He who
maybe I
shall
won't
not be named.
Maybe I won't call him a fascist, but maybe I will call him a fascist enabler. Does that work?
I mean, look,
codependent. I don't know.
We came into this world political. We hit 100 political. I feel like we're doing it correctly.
Yes, although I would only say that 2 of the 3 political, non-political things that we said still apply.
Fuck Trump.
Well, that still applies. Sure.
Yeah.
What are the other 2 things?
It wasn't
Black
wear a
Lives
mask.
Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Well,
yeah.
Yes, I think those 2 still apply. Wear your fucking mask is a little more complicated these days.
It's more optional. Yes, it's more optional.
It is, but I would still say wear a fucking mask if someone asks you to. I
Yeah.
would say that still applies.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have to wear them all the time. But in many ways, episode 100 has a lot in common with episode 1. And the fact that we're just friends hanging out, having beer with our friends out there that we're talking to.
Yeah.
When we started out this episode, you guys were talking about how we should, make some sort of statement about this, and I don't know what more I can say than that. Or I don't know if you guys have.
Say drink good beer.
Oh well, drink good beer. That was that was good. And I'll remember that even when I'm drinking a PBR Tall Boy with some well whiskey.
Boilermaker.
Because really, it's ultimately we want to all be having good beer, but more often than not, we want to be having good experiences, and that's what it is when I'm hanging out with the Super Chiller, and we're at the White Horse Tavern doing all of that. Any other? Yeah, you're clutching the uke, so we're about to wrap things up. But any other things we think we need to say here?
Beer Wonder has something to say.
No, I just think it is worth saying that it has been a pleasure and I'm amazed that we've hit 100 episodes. Always a pleasure drinking beers with you guys. Pleasure to have all of you listening. And also, I want to acknowledge Globehopper.
Yeah, I'm still here.
And still say you're still here. And also to say thank you for being our moderator. And thank you for being one of our most dedicated listeners. And for being a friend to all of us and being a true beer venger as a part of our crew.
Well, thank you. And for all those listening, the Beer Avengers, they will be on the socials. Also catch them on the City Brew Tours Beer Club. Gonna do a shameless plug.
Exactly.
They will be over there. I will
CBTBC.
make sure of it. CBTBC. I will make sure that they will continue having good beer. And I feel like this is also appropriate to say and to finish with, Beer Avengers, come back anytime.
That seems correct.
Yes, and we will.
That seems
we will.
correct.
Yes. In fact, yes, we've all been on CBTBC regularly, and I will be on there just in a couple of weeks, using my real name, but probably wearing the same shirt.
Right on.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We will be back when we will be back, and keep drinking good beer. Keep the faith. Look at us on the socials, and hug place out.
Oh, we're the beer Avengers, beer Avengers, beer Avengers. We're the Avengers. Captain Porter, Brown Stout, Porter, Brown Stout, Porter, Brown Stout. Captain Porter, Brown Stout. He's the beer wonder, beer wonder, beer wonder. He's the beer wonder. He's the globe hopper, globe hopper, globe hopper. He's globe hopper. We're the beer Avengers, beer Avengers, beer Avengers. We're the beer Avengers.
We're the Revengers.
Sing it, Huckster.
Oh, fuck yeah, my dude.
All right, you guys ready for port number 3?
Oh, let's do it, y'all. Let's do it.